Senate Resolution Number 208, a resolution of tribute for the Honorable Randy Richardville. Whereas it is a pleasure to extend the congratulations of the Senate to the Honorable Randy Richardville as he concludes his service to the state of Michigan as a member of the legislature. For 14 years, he has provided committed leadership in this chamber and in the House of Representatives, developing practical solutions, building consensus, and generally working to make our state a better place to live, work, and raise a family. And whereas a native of Monroe County, Randy Richardville graduated from Albion College with a degree in economics and from Aquinas College with a master's of management. He would go on to a career in business working for Michigan companies such as Lazy Boy and Herman Miller. In 1998, he was first elected to represent the 56th District in the House of Representatives. And whereas for 6 years as a state representative, Randy Richardville championed causes important to the residents of Michigan, working to promote economic development, create jobs, protect children, and conserve our natural resources. In his final House term, he was chosen by his peers to serve as Majority Floor Leader. In 2006 and 2010, Randy Richardville was elected to the Senate representing the 17th District. And whereas Senator Richardville was elected Senate President pro tempore, presiding over the Senate chamber during his first term in the Senate, and whereas for the last 4 years, Senator Richardville has led this chamber as the Senate Majority Leader. Under his dedicated leadership, the Senate has helped restore fiscal stability to the state's budget while laying the groundwork for Michigan's recovery from the Great Recession. For this work and his past efforts on many issues, he has been recognized by numerous groups, including the Small Business Association of Michigan, the Michigan Sheriff's Association, the Michigan United Conservation Clubs, the Autism Alliance of Michigan, and the Michigan Children's Trust Fund. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that we offer this expression of tribute to commend and thank the Honorable Randy Richardville for his distinguished work with this legislative body and notable contributions to our entire state. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be transmitted to Senator Richardville as evidence of our gratitude and best wishes.
Senator Richardville.
Thank you once again, Madam President. Through you to Senator Young, I'd like to start this speech with a quote. It's actually paraphrased somewhat, and I'm going to take a little bit of liberty from Mother Teresa. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you're successful, you'll win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness may make you vulnerable, but be honest and frank anyway. The biggest men and women with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest men and women with the smallest minds. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs but follow the top dogs. Fight for a few of the underdogs anyway. For in the end, it was never between you and them. I'd like to share a little bit of my philosophy and direct this toward the members especially. Everyone in this room is an elected official, which means that we are what I'd call a politician. My definition of a politician is someone who knows how to get elected. That's basically it at its core. The next level up, though, is that of a servant leader, someone who realizes that he or she is not here to be served, but instead the people who elected them should be the ones served. If Jesus himself said that he came to this earth not to be served, but to serve, then how much more should we be willing to serve those who elected us? And finally, in my mind, there is a third level, and that is that of a statesman. A statesman is not only someone who can be elected and understands what it means to be a servant leader, but also knows how to get things done and is looked up to as an example by his or her peers over a long period of time. Today I look around at those who will be leaving this Senate. I've spent a lot of time with them, and I know that they are all statesmen in my mind. My challenge to the next crop of legislators and those that are here and returning is to strive to be statesmen and women and to leave this place better than when you arrived. Our service here has taken many forms, from simple changes like we opened the window blinds to make it a little brighter in here. We replaced the carpet. We fixed our workspace in the Capitol, along with 4 years of a balanced budget ahead of schedule. Some strong bipartisan support for items like autism coverage, helping to put Detroit on the path of financial health, and hopefully later today we'll have added a bipartisan solution for roads to our list of accomplishments. I'd like to thank my colleagues on the other side of the aisle for working with my caucus to set a tone that's far different from what we see in Washington. Those of you, Senator Molinar, that will be going to Washington, I hope you take some of that attitude with you when you go that way. I'd like to thank the minority leaders in the Senate and in the House, the Speaker, the Lieutenant Governor, and the Governor for their leadership over the last 4 years. 16 years ago, the people of Monroe County elected me to the House of Representatives, and it's been my privilege to serve them ever since. I've worked hard to be true to myself and to the people back home who thought enough of me to give me their support and their vote. I've done my best to be straightforward and pragmatic. I've tried to hold true to my core beliefs and tried to always be an accurate reflection of the people in my district. I think most of you know that I firmly believe that the legislature should not be about partisanship, but it should be about solutions. I've tried my best to find middle ground on a lot of issues, and I thank you for your participation in that effort. I'd like to think that those who know me know that what you see is pretty much what you get. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I suppose, is up for debate. But I learned early on that it was better to be upfront and honest with my colleagues in the legislature and my colleagues in the Lansing community, and I hope I've earned some respect from them, because they've certainly earned mine. For the folks back home who thought it was best to elect me 5 times to come up here, I hope you feel I've served you well. I hope I'm remembered not as a senator or as a majority leader or the guy who helped bring the Career Technology Center and the Performing Arts Center at the community college, the guy who helped to restore Lake Erie's Sterling State Park, who helped coordinate state and federal resources for the River Raisin National Battlefield and the new Lazy Boy headquarters back in Monroe. You know, those are things that we did up here with a lot of help from you. But back home, I hope I'm remembered simply as Randy, the guy from Monroe. To my caucus, I hope I'm remembered as a leader who recognized the expertise in others and trusted and respected my fellow senators enough to let them do their own jobs. You chose me to lead a historic Senate majority, and it's been my distinct honor and privilege to be your leader. I hope I've met your expectations often and disappointed you seldomly. To my friends on the other side of the aisle, I'd like to thank you for your willingness to listen and your interest in compromise. While we might not always agree, I'd like to think that we found common ground whenever it was possible. To the minority leader, my friend, thank you for being willing to talk always and also willing to listen. I'm glad we're always able to take a moment to laugh, and the people around us laughed at us as well. Now we come to the part where I'd like to thank everyone who helped me look good and to do my job well. To my friends in the greater Lansing community, thank you for communicating and informing me on so many issues. Thanks for your friendship and kindness. I know some of us will be friends for the rest of my days here, and I hope you feel the same about me. I'd like to thank all the Senate session staff, but especially Carol Viventi. You made me sound a lot more eloquent and appear a lot more capable than I actually am. Those 4 years that I spent up at the top of the rostrum, when I knew what to say about half of the time, you always reminded me what to say and very casually kind of whispered things so that I never made an embarrassment of myself or the institution. I shouldn't say never, but most of the time. I thank you for that. Thank you to our Senate staff in policy and communications for going way above and beyond to help us to do our jobs and telling us what we can do, how we can do it, and how to effectively communicate it. I want to thank the Legislative Service Bureau for enduring countless hours of drafts, edits, and abuse, and be prepared for the rest of today and early morning tomorrow. I have to take a few moments at least to thank my past and current staff. Not everybody's included here, but the ones that worked the closest with me. Peter Riddell, the very first staffer that I had, he abandoned me after about 9 months. He tells people I fired him, but I didn't. Jason Rivard, who came up to me back in 1996 and said, I just graduated from Central Michigan, and I've always wanted to be involved in politics. Can I be your campaign manager? And I said, yes, and then we lost. Thanks, Jason, for that. With a positive, Governor, what is it that you say? This positive, relentless positive action. And he came back and we did win the second one, and then he stayed with me for 6 years. Jason, you were an incredible friend and still are. Adam Stacy helped me back in the House. He's still with me. I don't know how he stays and so young looking and doing all the things that he does, but he's an incredible man. Patrick Yaki, where'd Patrick go? Oh, he's back here taking pictures. You're more than a friend, and I saw your Facebook posting today. It was awesome. I actually wrote it and gave it to him. Ann Grassman, I don't know if she's here or not, but she is the most likable person that I think I've ever worked with up here and manned our doors like nobody ever. Brad Bergmuser, who's working in Chicago. Jody Dorr, who met me with a smile and a hug every morning. Carrie DeBano, who since got married and knocked on so many doors with me for so long. What an incredible person she is. John Manor, who tried to replace me twice, got beaten 2 tough elections, but came in and works just as hard up here now as he did. Tony Daunt, Mike Parr, who's still here. Jamie Clover Adams, now moved with the administration. Governor, you know, we train these people. They become really good, then you come and take them. You got to stop doing that, all right? Tony Stamas made an incredible difference when he became the Chief of Staff. I'd like to single him out as somebody that has influenced the Senate as much as anyone. Megan Noland, you're still my sugar. Don't take that the wrong way, okay? See, she's working for Bouchard now, and Bouchard thinks that she likes him more than me, but she doesn't. That's why she's here. Scott Bean, you were with us from the beginning. You're still here, and there's nobody that understands Monroe better than you do through me, and I appreciate all your efforts. Ryan Richardville, a member of the family who's still with me. Scott Jones, who's started a young family and now makes this commute. I don't know sometimes why he does. Connor Spalding, who will continue on with the next leader's office. Sean Smith, a special individual who I have to recognize because he's been an example for all of us of how tireless and relentless you can be in overcoming physical obstacles. Lisa Hoekstra is moving on to Washington. Bobby Ray, you see there's been a fight as to who the Scarecrow was in this. You know the Scarecrow, right? From The Wizard of Oz. I think I'll miss you most of all. I'm going to go ahead and tell the rest of them that think they're the Scarecrow that it's actually you, Bobby Ray. I'm going to miss you most of all. Why don't you help me in joining this lady real quick? Margie Roglin, we go back to the Monroe days when you used to help me with charitable things, been a friend, moved up here, and now you're going to continue on in another office. Thank you. Pete Langley, who returned to the Senate after working with Senator Sanborn for a number of years. He quit. I can't blame him for that. But then he came back when we took over, so that's a good thing. Amber McCann, you are the spokesperson for this caucus and one of the people that I can go to with any problem of any sort, and you somehow make it all work. Terry Ames, you're more than the Scarecrow. Where are you? This is the woman that got most of the legislative work done that we've got done in the last 4 years and has managed several positions into one. She also has come to me with all the problems she has, and God, that's a lot. And so you might not know this, but over the last 8 years, she's helped me to deal with problems and with things that aren't rational at all. So when I became the leader, I could deal with all of you better because of the great example that Terry was. Now, Terry, you and Pete just got married. They asked me to be the officiating guy in that. I've never done that before, and I've never been honored more than to do that. And I wish you all love and happiness the rest of your time together. Jake McLaughlin, everybody, I think, in the world just about knows Jake. What you might not know is that he came up to the House of Representatives about 15 years ago on a field trip and told me that he was going to work in this building someday. And about 11 years later, he's 21 years old, and he's up here, and he moved from driving me part-time to being Deputy Chief of Staff. And Jake, all that you've listened to back and forth in the car means that I'm totally indebted to you. Anything you ever need or want, you know you've got it. You don't even have to ask. Jordan Hankwich, you came in and filled a role and have been the rock in the office, and I can't thank you enough for your leadership and the style with which you perform your job. You do it as solidly as anybody can, or maybe ever will, I don't know, but you at least set a standard for everybody to try and achieve. And congratulations, and thank you for as well being my friend. I got a few outgoing senators. I'm not going to mention everyone, but I'm going to mention a few of them. Roger Kahn, who thought as recently as a couple hours ago to mention that he has seen me in my diapers before. You can stop doing that now, okay? I don't know anybody that could have managed the appropriations process coming out of the last administration and moving into this one with the problems we have, the way that you have. And your service to the state of Michigan is unmatched by anybody else that I know. And I just want to thank you because we've worked together side by side, and just so you know, about 8 years ago or something, I think it was 10, yeah, it was a little over 8 years ago, the man called me up and said, you know, I've only been in politics a couple of years. I've spent almost 2 years in the House of Representatives. I'm the chairman of the Health Policy Committee, and I'm wondering if I should run for the Senate or not. What's your advice? I said, well, you're chairman of the committee. You've always wanted to be. You're in a safe seat now, and you've made it safe. It wasn't beforehand. You're in the majority. You probably will be. You should stay right where you are. So 2 weeks later, he announced he would be running for the Senate. I'm glad that you didn't take that advice back then. John Papa George, the colonel, we were seatmates for a long time. You have probably talked to me in my legislative career more than anyone. It wasn't always solicited, but you know, you did this thing where, like, you come up and you give this unsolicited advice, and like every 6 or 7 is really good. And so it's like Pavlov's dog. You don't know if it's the good one or if it's not the good one, so you got to listen all the way through it. I'm just kidding. You've been an example, and I consider you a dear friend, and I thank you very much for your service to the state of Michigan. Bruce Caswell, somehow you observe things that nobody else does. You know when I'm struggling, and you take me off to the side, and you give me advice as if I was one of your track or football kids or one of the students, or even like Kevin, your son. I want you to know that I've learned enough from you. You don't need to take me aside anymore. I got it. Howard Walker, you know, Alice Cooper has a song, No More Mr. Nice Guy. And I used to think you were a really nice guy till I got to know you. The way you fight for things and the way you have, you know, come out of, I don't want to say come out of your shell, that wouldn't be true, but I've watched you grow into a different kind of legislator than before, and this body is going to be a lesser body because you decided not to stay, but we understand and know that you're moving on back to your family, and I wish you the best in that. Mark Jansen, I don't know if there's a better example of a legislator. You work as a legislator and have been an example to me. You started before I did, so I got to watch people like you when I was a little rookie over there. But more than being as good a legislator you are an example of what a good Christian man should be. And that's probably what I'll remember you most for. And I'll miss you as much as I do anybody else, because I've watched you battle through good things, bad things, disappointments, whatever, and you never seem to lose the hope or the faith that you have. And I don't think you realize how much that's affected everybody around you. Tupac Hunter, I wish you Godspeed. I like it when you vote with us every now and then. It's really a cool thing. You represent the city of Detroit well, and of course, you've got a bright future in front of you, and I wish you the best. Glenn Anderson, congratulations on all the work that you did. We finally got some license plate stuff done. I hope you're happy about the things we did do. If not, well, we won't probably see each other very much. I'm just kidding. I wish you all the best in your future as well. John, I already mentioned you, but I'm proud to know you and the replacement that you're going to be in Congress. I know you're going to be an incredible congressman. And again, I hope you bring some of this attitude with you when you go. Gretchen, I'm looking forward to celebrating the end of this relatively soon. I can't tell everybody any more than that. That's all a good thing. You know, what's really cool about having the microphone last is that I have the microphone last. But you can hear that it really doesn't bother her a whole lot. She just keeps on going. Finally, I'd like to recognize my family. They've stood by me, supported me through good times and bad. Wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for their love and encouragement. They started out, you know, when my two children were in, I think, junior high, and now one of them has 2 kids, and the other one's working full-time, and they're adults and gone, living out in California. Mandy, her husband Daniel, little James, and if you have a few minutes, I'll bore you with him, because, you know, if I have a second to do that, I will. Sophia, the little girl that was just born about 4 months ago, so happy to have her in my life. My son Adam, who's probably my best friend. My mother Glenda, and those of you that work especially in the Republican caucus know her. I have nothing more to say, except that I love her dearly. And her husband Chuck, and of course my father Dennis, who just turned 80 the other day and is down in Florida. I miss spending time with him. And you all know what a sacrifice it is when you come up here. Your family sacrifices a lot. You sacrifice time with them. But it's a noble thing. You know, early on in my career, I got probably the best advice I ever received. I was told, don't let Lansing change the person that you are. You might argue that person didn't know me very well. But I've done my best to try to follow that advice. I started off with a quote from Mother Teresa, and I'll end with a thought. You know that I have songs, and sometimes songs come to my mind, and so I was thinking recently, looking back on this. I did think about Gretchen, you and me, when we vote together, and that song was Stuck in the Middle by Steelers Wheel. You know, the one where clowns to the left of me. It's funny if you think about it. This is from Jerry Garcia. It's from a song I think called Truckin'. It says, sometimes the light's all shining on me, other times I can barely see. Lately it occurs to me what a long, strange trip it's been. As I start on a new journey, although I've tried to be true to myself, I am a different person than I was when I got here, and it's largely because of the people in this room. I consider myself a better person for having known each and every one of you, whether you're a member, whether you're a staff, former staffer, friend, or guest in the gallery. I want to thank you for what you've meant to me and will continue to mean to me for the rest of my life. And I hope that on that other path, we'll have the opportunity to see each other again. Thank you all. May God bless you.
Senator Richardville asks that his remarks be printed in the Journal. All those in favor of adopting the resolution, Senate Resolution 208, will say aye. Those opposed, resolution is adopted.